KPIX 5 Susie Steimle on the special team formed to monitor this storm's runoff. Susie?
Well, Veronica, it has been raining pretty consistently in Santa Rosa for about 2.5 hours. And as you mentioned, this brings with it some serious environmental concerns. The first is that ash and debris getting into storm drains. The other is that because all of this land is burned, it used to absorb water. Now it won't, and that could lead to flash flooding.
You know, the rain is always that, hopefully, rebirth.
Jeffrey Madura says he sees this week's rain as the next step in the natural process. Today we toured the plot where his home of 22 years used to be. After last week's rain, he's already seeing some regrowth, but he knows his neighborhood isn't out of the woods for the upcoming rainy season.
I'm worried about later on maybe the heavier rains with flooding and things like that in some of the Fountain Grove areas and some of the hills.
Earlier this week, city workers put wattles in place around storm drains. These long socks essentially are filled with straw and meant to keep debris out of the watershed.
We're concerned about water quality. We're concerned about increased risk of flooding. We're concerned about potential debris flow that could wash into our culverts.
Rita Miller is a member of the newly formed Watershed Task Force. It's a group of more than a dozen city and county officials tracking the rain and hoping to mitigate environmental impact. It's a balancing act, keeping debris out of the drains while still allowing them to do their job so streets don't flood.
We're asking the public to keep an eye on the creeks. The water levels might rise quicker than they have in normal rains before the fire.
Places like Coffee Park are especially at risk. The vegetation and soil usually soak up some of the rain, preventing flash flooding. Rita says it could be a long winter for the burn areas.
We're going to keep an eye on both Coffee Park and Fountain Grove because we've put storm drain protective measures. We want to make sure that the debris is not blocking flow into the storm drain system.
Now, one good piece of news, homeowners were asking if this would impact debris removal. They say the rain will not. The only thing they're going to have to do is put in place some erosion control mechanisms so that once they clean out one person's home, they don't have ash from another contaminated area going back into an area that they've already cleaned up. So that's one piece of good news. The rain will not impact that. We're live in Santa Rosa. Susie Steimle, KPIX 5.